Good afternoon, everyone. I'm seeing that there are only 22 attendees as of now, so I shall start with my webinar as of now. We'll be dealing with multiple topics, okay, and it would be from economy, international issues, and some issues from national concerns, which are like basically taken up on day-to-day basis and you read them in the newspaper. Now, let's move on to what I'm going to cover in the session altogether. I'll be covering, first of all, I'll be covering the economic survey, a general overview, what economic survey says about the economic scenario in India and what are the areas which are of concern. Okay, and as far as Indian economy ongoing trends means is like recently the budget was there in the session, so budget session was going on. So I'll be discussing what budget says overall, okay, and I'll be giving you a few factual details about which you can use in your EDs or interviews, which might be asked to you something like what is the fiscal deficit which India is facing and what's the target fiscal deficit which we are targeting as of now, and what are the issues with India at macro level, not at micro level, but at macro level. Reasonably, we don't need to get into very, very specific details of economic sector. We are dealing with economics. The second thing would be like international scenario. I'll be covering the Syrian conflict, the conflict which is ongoing in Syria and it's a part of the Arab uprising. After that, I'll be dealing with the political crisis going in Maldives and how India is being involved in it. Again, what are the issues involved? And after that, in national concern issues, there would be like honor killing. What is honor killing? Why it is there, and how it should be banned or how it should be curtailed. Then, what are the standards of media in India? Okay. And the last topic would be censorship on networking websites. It was in news that recently there was concerns about censorship of networking websites because it contained some material or some questions, some topics or something like that, comments on which were affecting the integrity or something like that of the country. So I'll be dealing in depth what is the issue behind networking websites and should they be censored or not. Okay. So now it's like 25 minutes. Now we'll be doing one thing. I will move on to the economic survey overview. Okay. Now the first thing, basically, how many of you have already read economic survey? Any idea of economic survey? I would like to know that. You can type in the box if you know what the economic survey generally is saying about Indian economy. Anybody else who have any idea of economic survey from newspaper or anything? Okay, fine. So the basic message with economic survey is economic survey. No, I'm not saying what economic survey is telling us, okay? I'm saying what economic survey 2012-2013 is saying about Indian economy. What is like future perspective what it is saying? A general overview, any idea? Okay. One more thing, few people are confusing between census and economic survey. Census of India is completely different from economic survey. Census of India is done in a decade, okay? Every decade, and it consists of population data and housing data and other data, demographic data basically. Okay. But economic survey deals with the economic data and economic health of the country. Okay. So let's get on to what economic survey basically says about Indian economy. So the message which economic survey has sent across is that the downturn or there was a slowdown in the economy. It's almost more or less over as of now. There won't be any issues of downturn, and it's like the progressive growth would be there. Since in the last 1 year, our growth rate was somewhere around 5%. So 5%. So now what it is expected that the growth in the next financial year would be somewhere around 6.1 to 6.4%. Now this is really encouraging for India because all over the world, including Eurozone, America, any other economy other than Indonesia and China, is not able to grow that fast. So it's a very positive sign for the Indian economy, and economic survey holds a very positive sign positive outlook towards Indian economy. The second thing which economic survey emphasized specifically was that India has a very big demographic dividend. Okay, now what do you mean by demographic dividend? Anybody has any idea what is the demographic dividend which India possesses? I want you to be more interactive, and if you can tell me what you. Sorry. One, you are absolutely correct. Young population, you can say, or the young population in the workforce, the population of the country which can. So basically, it's more like the people from the age group of 25 to 49 or 59. Okay, the workforce is there. So more than 50% of the population of India, as of now, is going to be in that workforce area. So what is required is that India needs to provide jobs to them, and if India provides jobs to them, they will be able to accelerate the growth of the country. So this is a specific area which economic survey has concentrated on in this year's data. Okay. So now economic survey starts with the reasons, giving reasons. What were the reasons behind the slowdown in the Indian economy? Okay, now it's generally felt that it was just the global scenario which led to economic slowdown, but there were definitely external causes to it as well as internal causes to it. Okay, now I want to know anybody knows what are the global financial slowdowns? What happened as such in the global financial arena which affected Indian economy? Definitely I'm getting the correct answer by Subodh and Anurag that yes, of course, the euro debt crisis is the recent one, and of course downfall in the US economy was the starting point of it. So that was the basic reason what led to the economic slowdown, which led to the decrease in exports from Indian market, and the finances, the investment went low, and all of the financial market all over the world went down. Now let's get to the internal causes. Now, internal causes was, as I mentioned, that it was agricultural slowdown and inflation. Can anybody tell me how come inflation affected the economic growth? How is inflation? Okay, tell me what is inflation? Anybody who can answer me what is inflation? Yes, definitely you're correct, Nupur and Vani, that it's the rise in prices of the. Now, how is it affecting our country, our economy as well? Because what happens is when inflation comes, people start to hedge their money. They start to protect their money because buying goods it's very difficult to buy goods. It becomes pricier. The purchasing power of money doesn't go well with them. So it affects economic growth. It affects the investment. Now, since our economic GDP consists of three sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and service sector. So what happens is, when any of these areas slows down, the GDP and the economy will slow down. In last few years, because of supply chain management and backward integrations in agriculture sector were not up to the mark, agriculture sector was not able to grow at that speed. So definitely the slowdown in economy was given both to the external causes and internal causes, and this led to rate of to be somewhere around 5% in the last year, and before that somewhere around 6%. But the basic theme of economic survey was like Indian economy responded to this slowdown in a very good manner. So the decadal average growth rate was 7.9%. So that was, and it shows that how Indian economy is resilient to any world or global financial crisis. Definitely it has affected when it becomes from two sides, from Eurozone as well, from America, from US crisis as well. But the overall average growth rate of 10.9% shows that how Indian economy is resilient to any shock from last advance. This is again a positive for investors in India, that if they invest in India, they have their money secured in the economy. Now, there is a point in the economic survey that the balance of payment in India, the balance of payment crisis, or the balance of payment was skewed towards high imports. Okay, now the basic point behind it was before this financial year of 2012-2013. Before that, there is a question. Okay, some Ankit is asking me how much is. I heard that 4 to 5% is good. Inflation is good for. Actually, RBI maintains that if there are 4 to 5% inflation is there in the country, it would be good for around 5%. Reason being, what happens is when there is inflation, people attend to, when 5% inflation is there, the prices are rising. People are ready to invest. Okay, they are getting returns out of it. So investment doesn't hamper. Inflation in actual sense, the growth and inflation go simultaneously. When there is growth, there is going to be inflation, because when you grow, there would be more development, more money in the market. More money in the market, definitely it's gonna again make you buy new things. Again, it's a cycle which comes on. So now, getting back to the balance of payment issues, the economic survey says that the balance of payment this time was affected by two reasons. Of course, one reason is crude oil prices. Can anybody tell me which is the largest importing commodity in India? Does anyone know in our report this? Okay, and wait, what is the second largest? Second largest is? See, the first largest, of course, is the petroleum, crude oil. And last year what happened is the import of gold increased 4 times, which used to be somewhere around 250 billion crores, something around that. Okay, now it became around 1,000. So that was because of the inflation. People think that gold is a very good instrument to hedge their money against inflation. So what happened is the balance of payment was skewed against import, because India imported one of the highest amount of gold into the country. Now let's move on to the other aspects of what economic survey says. Now, economic survey basically recommends few things on what we should do. Okay. And what should be the areas which government should focus. Now, of course, well, as I told you that India would be facing a very big demographic dividend, but it needs to encash onto that demographic dividend, and that would be done only when job creation is done. Now, since economic survey was very particular about it by saying that job creation in India is being in low earning sectors. It's not in sectors like manufacturing. They said that manufacturing sectors yield better jobs, more paying jobs. So what happens is the economic survey has recommended to create jobs in the manufacturing sector, to boost the manufacturing sector as compared to the low earning jobs. Second point, economic survey also boost to agriculture sector in different means. What happens is our agriculture sector, which of course employs more than 50% of our population, is suffering from technical glitches. It's not just giving them subsidies or on fertilizers or seeds that will help. What is required is basic infrastructure and better supply management. Now, what I mean by that is infrastructure like all the other facilities like transportation, food storage, and availability of irrigation, and all these things, power supply to run their tube wells and all, they form a part of the infrastructure which needs to be improved. Now, what do you mean by better supply chain management? Supply chain management is basically the whole process in which the product is manufactured at one place, something like a product or something produced. Okay, agriculture produced and it is brought to the market or to the end user. That whole consists of the supply chain management. Okay, so they want it to improve. Now, there is a concern about FDI in retail, which says that this is going to improve if we are like helping getting into FDI in retail sector. If we get FDI in retail sector, we will definitely improve our supply chain management. So what happens is what supply chain management thing will happen if some a Walmart or a Tesco or any other big player comes into India for supply chain management. I'll take the example of McDonald's over here. What McDonald's does is it procures its potatoes from somewhere in other state of the country, okay, and its lettuce which you eat in that burger from some other state of the country. Now what it does is it doesn't ask the farmer to deliver the produce to his own center. What it does is it manages the transport system from the farm or from the field to his center on its own. So what happens is it really improves the efficiency of the supply chain management. So that kind of practices are being employed by the international players. So we need to improve on that part. So if international players are coming, they'll bring with them more technical knowledge and more supply chain management benefits with them. So that is the kind of view which economic survey is trying to show, that you should go for these kind of policies. Now again, economic survey every time says that we need to widen the tax base. Now what is the tax base? Tax base is the number of people in India who are paying taxes. It is being observed that around 1 to 2% of the population in India pays tax, and others are like they evade tax or they are able to get exemption from the tax. Now what it is saying is, instead of increasing the tax, what we need to do is increase the tax base. We need to increase the tax base for that thing. Okay. Now there is another economic survey thing says a very big thing, that we need to plug in the leakages in the service provision. Something like if you might have heard of PDS system, public distribution system, and there are multiple leakages in it. The end benefit or the end target doesn't get the benefit of it. Anybody knows what is public distribution system? PDS. I'm not getting this one. So, see, nobody knows what is a PDS or public distribution system? Definitely, Vani and all, you are completely correct on that part. Public distribution system is providing food grains to people at a subsidized rate through government channels. It's more like involving state and government. Government of India will procure the food grains and then the state government will distribute it. So what used to happen is almost 95% of the grains, 90+% grains used to get lost in the way. So that was a leakage. So what is being done is there is a scheme called direct benefit transfer, which is being introduced by Government of India. So that scheme will directly transfer some cash into the account of the beneficiary, and the beneficiary can use that money according to his or her own needs. So that kind of thing will plug the problems with the leakages, okay, the food grains and all. So the target end user will definitely get the benefit of it. Now, somebody was asking me to explain what is demographic dividend. Okay. Now, I'll get back. Demographic dividend is basically the benefit of the demographics of a country. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is benefit a country can get from its population. In case of India, almost more than 60% population is in the age bracket of workforce. Generally, we take that workforce is between 25 to 49, and it's more like it's an ambiguous statement because people, there are different standards of it. But if you take that people start working in India at around 25 years of age and they work till age of 55. So this kind of population is there in India a lot, more than 60% of it. So what will happen is we can give them job and we can generate employment and we can use them to fuel the economic growth of the country. So that kind of demographic dividend we were talking about. So that's what demographic dividend is. Getting the benefit out of the demographics of a country. Okay. Now, that's all from the economic survey side, because economic survey basically gives you a complete overview, and these are the overviews from the economic survey. Now, let's move on to our second topic, that was what's the ongoing trends in Indian economy. First of all, I would like to ask you, what is the basic thing our budget is trying to do? What is the first thing? Of course, you might have seen the slide, but I just wanted to know what's the first thing which comes to your mind that this year's budget has targeted upon? Yeah. So if someone asks you, definitely to reduce fiscal deficit. So what is the economic term which is used for that? That's fiscal consolidation. It has completely focused on fiscal consolidation. So, and the second thing which is looking at is promoting investment. Now, if you might be knowing that FDIs and investment in India are decreasing from the last year. Compared to last year, India is getting very less FDIs. So, government is trying to promote FDIs and investment into the sectors, into different sectors of the economy. Now, can you tell me what are the basic challenges a country, India is facing as of now, means in the economic sector? Not on a broad basis, but specific challenges. Okay, I've got interesting answers from your side. See, a policy logjam is not an economic problem, it's more of a governance problem. As far as ICAD is concerned, definitely it's a very big problem for India. Current account deficit is increasing, and that is because of the increased oil prices and the gold import which India is doing as of now. Manufacturing sector is of course facing infrastructure problems as of now. Power problems is there, road connectivity, transportation and all is a basic problem which is hampering manufacturing. Now let's get on to see the key risks to Indian economies. Okay. Now every economy in this globalized world faces problems from every area. Okay. So global scenario is of course the biggest problem which India is facing as of now. Now, if you see that the Eurozone is there and the problem of Eurozone is still not resolved. And what could be the possible solution of Eurozone crisis? Okay. No, I got an answer from a bailout. Okay, bailout. Don't you think that bailout has already been done so many times? Is that a real solution to it? Because bailout again and again, any country from the Eurozone asks for a bailout. So for how long a bailout will work? See, the basic solution to is to get into a fiscal union. Basically, what do you mean by fiscal? Fiscal means the whole of the economy should be governed. What happened is the basic premise behind the Eurozone crisis was that Eurozone was a monetary union. It was not a fiscal union. Now, monetary union was something like they had a common currency and the liquidity of currency would be maintained by their central bank. Now, in fiscal union, what happens is to maintain the whole of the fiscal things at once. So, what will happen is, fiscal union seems to be the only way out as of now. Reason being, monetary union, bailout, everything is being tried. Now, what they need to do is get into a fiscal union and then get onto some austerity measures. Now, what is austerity measures? Austerity measures are something like when you start cutting down on the government expenditure and taxes are levied on the public so that there is some money to invest in the economy. So that will help in resolving the Eurozone crisis as a whole. Next column, which key issue in an economy is, of course, global oil prices. Now, since there are two reasons behind global oil prices, the Arab rising and Arab Spring, which really created a turmoil in the oil-rich countries, that is definitely making a concern. So the basic problem is the bill, this oil bill, it is increasing. India is too much dependent on oil from outside, and the oil prices are completely going up every day because of the international pressure. So that geopolitical tension around the world is increasing the oil pressure, and that's a very big concern for India because it's the largest commodity which India imports, and this is increasing the current account deficit as well as it might create a balance of payment problem as well. Now let's come to the local issues which Indian economy might face. Now local issues. It's like political outlook. India is a democratic country. Okay, and what happens is the local issues really definitely in a coalition government comes up more than the national interest. So that hampers that what we call as policy logjam. It has its own benefits as well, but on the economic side, it definitely creates a problem like we see that to get the bill for FDI in detail was so difficult for the government itself. Now rising CAD, high gold imports, weighing on external, these all are already discussed. The current account deficit is increasing on behalf of extra gold which is being imported. So basic premise to contain the inflation. So we need to check all these things and then we can think of a better economy in India. Before that, I would like you to have certain insights into the budget actually, or basically you can say a snapshot of Indian economy. So it said that India is, in the budget it stated that India's nominal GDP growth was at 13.4%. Now can you tell me what is the difference between a nominal growth and real growth? Anybody who knows the difference? Okay. Nominal GDP is the one which does not count for inflation. And a real GDP is one which is adjusted to the inflation, the ongoing inflation. Yes, Anurag, you are correct that the real GDP covers inflation. It accounts for inflation. Okay. Now, there are two basic tax reforms which I would like you to take note of. It's like the DTC, Direct Tax Code, and the GST. These are two tax reforms which would be like completely overhauling the taxation or the fiscal system of the country. DTC, Direct Tax Code, is like there would be a specific code for direct taxation. Direct taxation means something like income tax, which is the direct tax. And GST would be a tax on the indirect tax. It would be a all India basis taxation system. And it will help in mitigating the problem of double taxation or any ambiguity in taxation. Also, it will help in widening the tax base. Concern with economic service that we need to in the tax base. These two, DTC and GST, would be one of the basic pillars on which the widening of tax base would be there. Now let's move to the international scenario. Okay. Syrian conflict. So can anybody tell me what is the Syrian conflict going on? What is the Syrian conflict? Anybody with who knows what is Syrian conflict? Yeah, Nupur, you were right on that part. Of course, it's ongoing civil war inside the Syria. So now the basic background of Syrian conflict. Syrian conflict is the outcome of the wider Arab Spring, in which everybody was fighting for a democratic government, a government which is more responsible to people. It is being observed that the Arab area was being ruled by different governments or regimes who were totalitarian in nature. They were like autocratic. Generation on generation, they were ruling the area, and they were not concerned with what people are facing, what are the issues with people and all. They were not at all concerned about it. So what happened is people started to protest against that. That happened started in Tunisia when one of the person set himself on fire and he died. From there the protest started, and then on it across the Arab area, whole the area. Now, what basically the problem in Syrian conflict is that the Baath party, which is ruling the country, okay, it is there in power from 1971. Okay, so what happens is people are demanding the resignation of the president, whose name is Bashar al-Assad. They want him to resign, and they want a more democratic party to come in by elections or by any other means. So basically they are going for a more people-centric government over there. Now what happened is, the problem behind it is that the international intervention in it. US is in favor of the people who are protesting against the government. On the other side, Russia is supporting the Syrian government, and which it says is based on the contract which is signed with the Syrian government. Now this makes it very complex, and there are other things which are involved, very complex things involved in it. Now, basic problem with everyone is that there are a lot of human rights violation in one of the conflicts. People are dying. Recently, a UN report showed that almost 70,000 people have died in this conflict. So, what happened is, so many people died, so the international organizations want this to settle down. Of course, it definitely affects the economy as well, because it again increases the turmoil and the kind of unevenness in the East Asia, in the area. So what happens is it's nearby to the oil producing countries, and that again is going to fuel the oil prices. So that is also one of the major concerns. So the impact of the Syrian crisis is what we are concerned with. Of course, deaths of people, it's a very big thing, because almost 7,000 people have died as of now. The second thing is the human rights violation. It is being said that the government is really violating human rights, and people are not being considered as humans. They are like killed, they are being tortured, and they are being considered as crime against humanity. So that's the big problem. Now, what other countries are facing nearby to Syria is the refugee problem. Many people have fled the country, and they are taking refuge in Lebanon and other countries, nearby countries, Jordan, Lebanon. Everybody is facing the problem of refugees. So what happens is, the basic problem with refugees is it's not very easy, as they are not your citizens, and they have to maintain the camps for that. And other problems, operational problems as well as financial problems comes in when the refugees pour in. Now, as of now, there is no solution to Syrian conflict. There has not been any solution to it, and international governments are working over it. But the support of Russia and China to Syria and US stand against Syrian government is creating again a column in the UN to decide on to a specific solution to the problem. Now let's move on to the next international crisis, that is the political crisis in Maldives. Anybody has any idea about what happened in Maldives? Anybody who has any idea of political crisis which is ongoing in Maldives? Okay. Yes, the recent activity which really made things worse was why India was involved, because the ex-president, Mr. Nasheed, took a refuge in the Indian embassy over there. Now let's get on to the background on which it happened. Okay. Now Maldives was being ruled by a government which is autocratic in nature and had their first democratic election in 2008. So by that, Mr. Nasheed was elected as the president. He was the first democratic president. So people were expecting a lot out of him and he would change the lives. But what happened is, out of problems, people started protesting against him because he was not able to bring out good changes in the country. So he stepped out and he resigned from his post. And what happened is, after this, the vice president was made the president, and it was said that there would be another democratic scenario. This election would be held, and then new president would be elected. Now, the tussle is there between the two parties, basically. One is the autocratic, which was already ruling the country, okay, and the Democratic Party. Now, India has been a very close ally of Maldives, because Maldives is nearby is an Indian Ocean country, so it's definitely important for India to maintain good relationship with Maldives, as it is very sensitive. Any country nearby to India is very sensitive for its security purposes. So India needs to maintain a very good relation. Now, we need to know what is the India's approach towards this political crisis. India has not specifically mentioned anything wrong, and it has been trying to maintain a balanced approach with both the governments, the present government and earlier with Mr. Nasheed as well. But India has a policy of not interfering into the internal matters of any country. And since India believes on not interfering in anybody's internal matters, India is trying to maintain a normal relationship. But when Mr. Nasheed took a refuge in Indian embassy, what happened is, the background of GMR contract cancellation and his taking refuge in the embassy, it started a new dialogue between the two countries. And in one or the other way, it is good for India that the talks between the two countries, which was stalled because of the GMR controversy, this was again started. So this is a positive point for India, reason being that the talks which were not there, because in international diplomacy, what happens is we need to maintain the talks to be going on, whether it's anything, but we cannot stop talking to anyone. There should be some talking on some grounds on which the diplomacy should continue. So this is a good point for India, that India is still maintaining a good talk with the Maldives government, and they are trying to find out a solution. So most probably there is a chance that there will be some election, but still it is not solved as yet. So that's on the Maldives crisis. GMR controversy was, people asking about GMR controversy. GMR controversy is like, GMR was given a contract to maintain and develop an international airport in Maldives, the biggest international, the Male airport. So what happened is, when there was a shift of power from Mr. Nasheed, the contract was cancelled, and it breached the terms of contract that GMR was not given. They gave different reasons behind cancellation, that it's a strategic airport and we cannot let any private player to develop or maintain such a strategic institution or any airport, strategic airport. It's gonna work against the security of the country. So they cancelled the contract of GMR, and GMR had already invested a lot of money into it and they suffered big losses. So this was a big issue of concern between Indian government and Maldives government. Now let's move on to some issues of concern in India. Now it has been said, honor killing. Okay, everybody must have heard of this word, honor killing. What do you understand by honor killing? Anybody who can explain me what is honor killing? Yes, definitely. I think everybody is a clear idea of what honor killing is, but still I'll give a brief about it. Basically, we say that honor killing is like killing someone. General term for use for it is honor crime. Okay, and honor crimes are acts of violence, usually murder, committed by male family members against female family members who are held to have brought dishonor. Basically, it's all about the honor of the family. They say that anyone who brings dishonor to the family, they will definitely kill the person. Okay, earlier it used to be practiced by the male family, but recently it is found that in India it is being done by male families as well as the female families. Both try to kill the person based on the honor of the family. Now, since many of us might not be knowing that the honor killing is an ancient practice which is followed all over the world. It's not just India. It's not specifically related to India, and the practice is still continues to be prevailing in North and South America and Africa. So it's there outside world, but in India. So what happens is, now let's get on to specific scenario of India. Okay. Now it's believed that honor killing is feature of rural India. But recently, honor killing has been there in states like Delhi and Tamil Nadu. So it's not that just the rural areas which are influenced by this concept of honor killing. It's there in big cities as well, and with educated people as well. So there's something different between people saving their honor and their children being commercially educated. So it happens. Now the basic reason behind it is like intercaste marriage or something like marriage in the same group. People are not ready to accept that, the modern phenomena of intercaste marriages, and they kill their children. Now the basic reason behind honor killing is still acceptance of this killing. They accept this as a norm that okay, if we are killing, then there is nothing wrong in it. Even in few states, the political leaders or the chief ministers of the state has also accepted that there is nothing wrong in protecting the honor of the community by killing their loved ones. So it's more like that the social acceptance for honor killing is so much that it is really hard to take out. And we listen to these things again and again that people are being killed because of the honor of the family. Now the thing is, what should be done? Basically, since it's modern and it's educated world. In educated world, there should be nothing like you are killing people for just the reputation of the society. Since people are interacting and the caste is getting down, the also says that there shouldn't be any distinction on the basis of caste and creed and sex and religion. So what happens is, this should be definitely curtail. Now the thing comes in, what should be done to curtail it? Any suggestions other than what I have mentioned? Okay, so basically what is required is the mindset should be changed for the parents and the society, right? Through education, through awareness. The basic thing is we need to make them understand that the life is more precious than the reputation. Few of you are saying abolishing caste system. Just on the point of caste system as per laws is already abolished in India. What India resides is caste consciousness, not caste system as such. The caste system as of now in India is being abolished because constitution grants you that right that you cannot be distinguished based on the caste. What happens is the caste consciousness. So that might not be more of a very practical solution as such. What we call is that it has attitudinal reorganization. We need to change the attitude of people towards the life or towards the society. They need to understand the value of life and the society, that the times are changing and we need to change with the time. And if somebody has some emotional feelings for the other person, they should be respected. Second thing which can be done is, of course, there could be strict laws. If somebody is getting involved in something like honor killing, he should be punished. There should be strict laws about it, and the administration should be the example for it. And the leaders, they shouldn't be agreeing to the fact that honor killing is good. Now, what happens is India does have rules for it, but the thing is, what hampers the effectiveness of these laws is the conviction rate. India doesn't have a very good conviction rate. So if somebody thinks that if we do an honor killing, nothing is going to happen. We are not going to get convicted for that. So we are free to do whatever we want. So what we need to do is, with stricter laws, what is required is we need to go for higher conviction rate. And secondly, there should be reporting of these cases, because in many cases, the cases go unreported, reason being it's socially accepted. So the reporting of these things should be made better, and there should be more people who should report about this thing. Okay. Now, these two can help. Let's see what happens in the future. We don't know, I guess. Let's move on to the standards in media now. Now, it is said that media has done really a good job in India by bringing up the issues of people. Before that, I would like to answer what is the conviction rate. Conviction rate is bringing the culprit to the justice. It's more like if somebody has murdered someone, he should be convicted and he should be sentenced to imprisonment or whatever punishment it is. So sentence. What happens is a person who has done some crime, they generally get arrested, but they don't get convicted. Even if maybe due to the failure of evidence, or maybe because of the time lag which is there in the judiciary system. There are multiple reasons for that the person doesn't get convicted and he is let free after many years. The conviction rate stands for the person. Suppose if 100 people are being arrested for a crime, for different crimes, only 11 to 12 people are given punishment. All others are set free even if they are wrong, if they have committed a crime. So that should go up. That's what we want. Now, let's get on to the journalistic standards in media. Okay, what happens is in media, it's a big hue and cry that media is doing very good in recent past. And now tell me, what are the standards? Do you think media is following any standards as such? And what is it doing good for the society, or is it doing good for itself? definitely I can see that many people are not happy with the media in the country. Let's get on to the details. Okay. Now, media is considered to be the fourth pillar of the democracy. The first three are the judiciary, legislature, and executive, basically, and the fourth pillar is considered as media is the fourth pillar of democracy, as it brings out what is happening in the other three pillars. Now, what is the role of media? It generally brings out the news which citizens should know. It's the ideal role which media should play. They should every news or every update which is happening in the country to the citizens. Also, it works as a pressure group in making policies. We can see in the case of the Lokpal bill or the campaign against corruption, it was media which was used against the government to bring the Lokpal bill. So that's the way it acts as a pressure group and makes the government to make such policies. Even in the case of sexual violence bill, media played a big role after the rape case in Delhi, that government was really pushed to bring in a new bill which could manage these kind of crimes in the society. So media as such has a very big role in the society, and it is considered to be a pillar which needs to work very hard in the society. Now, of course, what is the positive? The positive, of course, is like how the examples. Something like they have been able to bring up to the notice of the scams like 2G scams and other scams which are happening. Criminal cases, if you remember the Jessica Lal murder cases, it was being influenced by more powerful people, but it was media which brought to the attention that we need justice out of it. And of course, corruption and many other things. Corruption is like the campaign of Mr. Anna Hazare, and the concept of viral marketing goes through media now. But what happens is, does media play a good role? Now here, if somebody asks you, if you want to say that media is not playing a very good role, what are the examples you can post in? It doesn't even have some examples of showing that media is not doing the right thing. No, I'm asking. Okay. Okay, the example. So basically, if we say that what media is doing is hyped on to what Anna Hazare is doing, but they never hyped what Iram Sharmila was doing against the violence which is being committed by the armed forces in Manipur. So that kind of thing which is not being used. So what happens is it's more like the media is using more of sensitization. It goes for TRP. It goes for news is going to give them more TRP. It goes for fundraising, it goes for other kind of self-benefits. It doesn't reflect onto the actual happenings which are into the grassroots level of the country. It serves or it caters to the needs of the customers which are interested in sensitization of the news. Nowadays, in every channel we see that the whole day a single news is being flashed. Instead of that, they can tell us the news of all of the country, but they don't do that. So the basic motive behind every news is TRP, basically profit motive. So the basic problem, of course, the paid news, the controversy of paid news was a big controversy which happened. People they were more into the paid news was there. They were using media as an advertisement for the political benefits or promote their own profit. The sensitization topic, of course, definitely they don't do it the way it should be. Something like, we can say they make a biased opinion, they make an opinion out of themselves, okay, which will help them attract more viewers. They won't tell us the news simply and plainly to us that this happened as an event. Rather than they make us an opinion about any event which is happening. That is wrong. Now, what is the way forward for the media? What should they do? Of course, they should understand their responsibility, that they are not just a profit-making institution. They are not there to make profit, rather than they are there to make this country work far much more better way. I got a suggestion that digitization will help in improving media. I don't think so that it's already digitized. What needs to be done is, again, it's more like that we need to understand, we need to make them understand their responsibility. Of course, they need to change their attitude towards people. They should be more people-centric. Of course, they have brought up how media people are being bribed by parliamentarians and all, but they need to understand that they should not use this news just to make money out of it. They should understand the sentiments of people, and they should understand the sentiments of people of every part of the country. As I told you the example of Viram Swamila also. So, I would say that media needs to be changed, and the only way of changing it is making them understand this. And that can be done by the younger generation only. Since the new young generation, when it will enter into the media sphere, they will definitely try to do something which is more sensitive towards them. Okay, now let's move on to the last topic of the day. It's more on censorship of networking. Everyone uses networking websites these days. Social networking is the norm of the day. What do you think? Should censorship be done for networking websites? Okay. Okay. Let's first get on to the what is the role of networking website. Okay, what is the role a networking website has been playing as of now? What do we understand by networking website? It's more like it's a place, okay? It's a virtual place where you can meet new people, of course, and of course your old friends. You can talk to them, you can discuss, and you can comment, and you can discuss anything over there. You can discuss your columns, you can discuss about anything, okay? Now, more than being just a platform, it has been transformed into new virtual life. There are new websites which make you live like a virtual person, something like if you go to their applications, they make us live like a virtual person. So that kind of thing is coming up. So the role of networking website is more of getting a person more informed and evolved as a person, more developed. Since if you discuss with people different topics of general issues with people, different people across the world, it's going to help to evolve as a person. Definitely, it has a very positive role to play. But so if we start going for the benefits, okay, definitely it provides us with the information. Information as in like if there are people who are blogging or who are discussing few things, they provide information to people who are not knowing about that topic, and that might create a lot of information on the net itself. It helps us get into new social relationships, as well as it brings us to know our old pals which were lost due to lack of communication. So that's a very big thing. It helps us bring us back into that social group which we used to be a part of. And the basic thing is it supports the right to freedom of speech. We are free to speak something about our views. So if we have new ideas, if we have innovative ideas, we should be free to speak about it. Now, this networking website provides us with that, and it helps us in getting known about different things. Now, what are the concerns? Okay, so basically, why the concerns are there? Definitely, it acts as a platform for viral marketing of mass movement. We can see that in Arab Spring as well as in normal voice against corruption. The concerns, basically, two concerns people give to which are there is like that it intrudes into the private sphere of a person. So basically, the privacy issue. Second is it has increased the number of cyber crimes. Now, privacy issue is like people share their personal details on these networking websites, and generally they are being used by anti-social elements or something like people who are of a mysterious nature that they use them for some wrongdoing. So that is a very, very big issue. The security of the private data, which is there, is really a big issue. Of course, it increases the cybercrime. Cybercrime, the reason being, it provides a platform for viruses to spread very easily. So it helps. It really provides a platform to some anti-social elements to do many mischievous things around. Also, it helps build sometimes in negative sense extremism and regionalism. It might be against the integrity of the country. If we see what happened is, they really make an uprising out of everywhere. Okay, it has a negative connotation. It helps in increasing fundamentalism. Something like if we talk about Islamic fundamentalism, people are trying to send their messages of Islamic fundamentalism through the social network website. So that this really creates a problem. Okay, there is one more issue with it, that people tend to leave their actual life and start living in a virtual world. Which brings with a psychological ailment kind of thing, which happens when people are more sticking to the social networking site rather than giving importance to the real life, sitting to the computers and only getting connected to the virtual world. So that's also a very big psychological problem. So these are the basic concerns. Of course, the last concern from networking website is, they have the capacity to spread a negative sentiment about the country as a whole. If certain thing is happening, they have the capacity to send a negative vibe across the world. It can spread across the world in few minutes. So what happens is there are chances that it might create a negative sentiment about the country in just few minutes. So the basic question is, should they be censored? Now, we need to, before deciding on to this, should they be censored or not, we need to keep in mind what they do for us. Of course, they provide us a platform to scrutinize the policy of the government. If any policy of the government comes in, people discuss the pros and cons of the policy and are able to analyze that policy or anything which is coming up. So what happens is it provides a platform for people to know what they are being governed by. They are able to be a part of governance through discussions, through platforms, through panels, as well as blogs and other social media websites. So what happens is it plays a very big role in the governance part, which is known as what we claim as inclusive governance. So they have a very big role in inclusive governance. Of course, they create a global world. With people are able to talk to people who are across the world. People are able to know about cultures of different countries as a whole. They have friends, they have known persons in different countries. So what happens is it creates a global world which was visualized way back, that we should have a global citizenry, global citizens. So that kind of thing happens through social networking sites. Of course, it helps bringing in change. It helps people bring out innovation. It helps them share ideas, and what happens is it will definitely make people to think in a more advanced manner. When discussion or brainstorming happens on any topic, it brings out new things to come. and this brings in change in the society. And this society is it helps bring in change, and the change which happens. Suppose we are talking about something like fighting against corruption itself. What happens is the viral marketing and the social networking sites was the basic premise on which this thing happened. If you see the coming up of democracy in many Arab countries, what happened is they were like went through Twitter and through Facebook. People were able to send messages across that there is a need of democracy, and people were able to know what are the problems faced by Arab countries. So the Arab uprising is a very, very big example of how networking websites played a big role in bringing about a change, and that was at this big level. Now, so the question of should they be censored cannot be absolutely answered as such. It cannot be answered that yes, it should be censored or should not be censored. Definitely, there are some contents which needs to be classified for the security of a country, and there are some data which needs to be kept in private sphere itself. They not be divulged to everyone. So for that reason, there should be some scrutiny and there should be some balances and checks onto what is there on the social networking side. But too much of it will hamper the basic premise behind the invent of social networking. Since it's an old saying that access of impact. So same goes with the networking website. Access of information and access of freedom on networking website will also not help you. And access of restriction on it, something like what China did to Google. China put restriction on Google. So that kind of restriction is also not very healthy for the development of humankind as a whole. So this question is like there should be a sync between the censorship as well as in the freedom which is given to the networking website. So now anybody has questions can ask me questions about whatever I have because this was the last topic answer. So anybody who has questions in it? I might have missed a few questions earlier also. If you are there, you can ask me those questions as well. Okay, the whole slides and the whole webinar session would be available on your students' SIS area, so you can definitely go there and you can see this again. Any other queries? Okay. The fiscal and monetary union. A monetary union is a union based only for the currency purpose. It doesn't look into the taxation or the spending of the country. Fiscal union means that there would be a single body which would be looking after the expenditure, the taxation of every country. So it will work as a single entity. The taxation would be similar in every country. The same way of expenditure would be there. So what will happen is a country won't be spending too much. Everybody would be in sync with each other. Monetary union only deals with the currency part, the monetary part, the liquidity of money in the market. So what the basic problem behind Eurozone crisis was that it's just a monetary union, it's not a physical union. So what happened is different countries like Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece, what they did is they did first spending on providing facilities without proper taxation system. So what happened is they went into crisis, and to bail them out, other countries started to get into the crisis. So it's a mix. So what happened is the lack of single fiscal policy for the whole of the Eurozone, it led to the Eurozone crisis. The difference between nominal GDP and real GDP, there is nothing like which should be great. Okay, the real GDP is a GDP which is adjusted to the present inflation going on in the economy. So So what happens is generally nominal GDP growth is always greater than, because inflation is higher, so nominal GDP is greater than the real GDP. Fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation is basically a country which has very strong fiscal conduct where the expenditure is almost equivalent to the revenue or the earnings which it has. So a country which has this kind of economy where it spends almost equivalent to what it gets, that is called as fiscally consolidated. Fiscal consolidation is that you are able to manage your expenses without taking any extra loan or anything else. By increasing CR. Okay, fine. I'll deal with a small topic. That's a few specific instruments which RBI uses for controlling liquidity in the economy. It's more like CRR is there. Repo rate you must have heard, which is also known as policy rate, and reverse repo rate. Now, CRR is a cash reserve ratio. It's the amount of money which a scheduled bank needs to keep in cash with reserve bank. So if it is increased, if CRR limit is increased, what will happen is the liquidity in market will decrease. What will happen is a scheduled bank has to keep more cash reserve with RBI. So that will leave the scheduled bank with less money. And when it is left with less money, it would not be able to give more money to the market. That will suck the liquidity from the market. So if CRR is increased, liquidity will decrease. Okay. Now come to the repo rate. Repo rate in simple terms is the rate at which a scheduled bank borrows money from RBI or the central bank. So what happens is if repo rate is decreased, then the bank has more money with him. He will be able to take more money from the RBI because the rate of interest goes down. So it will have to pay less for that money. So repo rate going down will increase the liquidity in the market. Okay. And reverse repo is vice versa of repo rate. Any other queries? Yes. Anurag, it's not mandatory, but it's definitely there. It's being maintained like that. Okay, I'm going through the slides once again. Okay, if somebody wants to go through want to ask something, he or she can do that. Definitely we'll be making an effort to introduce more of the national and global topics into our next webinars, and that will help you in your GDs in April. Basically, my point today was to make you get aware of few issues in the national arena which are in news basically. What happens is these are ongoing topics, something like honor killing, it always goes on. And budget, of course, is a very big economic issue which you need to know, and what are the problems Indian economy is facing. Definitely, we are going to include more global and national topics for your GDs in the next webinar. So, any other queries? What is SLR? SLR stands for statutory liquidity ratio. What happens is every scheduled bank has to keep some amount of its assets in liquid form to maintain, to look for any unforeseen circumstances. Suppose if what happens is, suppose there is some bank, okay, and people start coming and start taking cash out of that bank. So it should have enough cash or liquidity so that he can meet the demands of the coming customers. So that's the statutory liquidity. India is the only country in the world which maintains an SLR. No other country in the world maintains SLR. And what's this? The role of CRR and SLR are different. CRR works on a short term. SLR is generally untouched. Reason being, it's with the scheduled bank. It's not with the RBI. CRR, the cash reserve, which needs to be kept with the central bank as such. Direct benefit cash transfer scheme. So direct benefit cash transfer scheme is a scheme of Government of India in which the Indian government will directly transfer the cash to the target audience. What will happen is, suppose somebody is entitled to get free education. So what it will do is, it will directly transfer the amount of fees into the beneficiary's account based on UID. They'll use the concept the UID number, and they'll directly transfer the cash to the beneficiary's account, and that beneficiary can take out that money, he can use it for it herself. SLR has to be maintained with the scheduled bank itself. I would like you to restrict your questions to the presentation which I am giving you now. Okay. Further questions I can deal with later on. Any more queries related to the presentation? Okay, so that would be all. If you have any, how will there is a very big concern regarding the effectiveness of direct benefit transfer. That what will happen if the cash transfer might be used in the wrong. So that's the basic concern of the policy. See, the policy tries to implement and assuming that people have the sense that they'll use it for their best possible manner, the benefit which it is being using. So which it is being tried on. So that's why there is a pilot project which is being going on. It is not being implemented in all over the country. It's being run on a pilot basis and only for 7 projects as of now. It's not being implemented on all the recommended 21 projects. So as such, this thing needs to be checked, and it is under consideration that what should be done for that. I'm getting a question about tax havens. Okay, tax havens are the economies which have almost zero or very, very negligent tax. Okay. And what happens is, India has double taxation avoidance agreement, that if a person originating in a certain country is being taxed over there, will not be taxed again for the same income in India. So what happens is, people generally tend to invest through tax havens where the tax is very low. So what happens is they are paying very, very low tax over there, and because of the double taxation avoidance agreement with India, the investment and the earning which he is getting in India is not taxed in India. So he is able to evade tax from the investment through tax havens. The best way of checking this tax haven problem is that India is getting into new disclosure agreements. The tax disclosure agreement with certain countries who are considered to be tax havens. So India is getting into agreement, and this DTAs are being revised on that basis. Okay, fine guys. I think so that would be all. If you have any more doubts, it's okay from the PPT. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next webinar session. CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. And anything else from the presentation? So that would be all for the day. Hope to see you in the next webinar.